Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my monthly reading stats for August 2018. So I did pretty good this month. I read pretty fair. Like I could have done maybe a little bit more during the middle of the month, but during the beginning part of the month it was a booktubeathon, so I read a lot during that week. And then the last week of the month was another readathon, Women in Translation, so I read quite a few books for that too. Kind of middle part of the month, not so much progress. I finished like one or two things, but it was really, I picked up, it just took a long time. So, but my numbers are still really good for me for over what I want to have every month. So to me, it's still a win. It worked out. So I'm just going to go through my list of questions here on my little sheet, and then we'll to talk about this. So how many books did I finish? I finished 9 books and 2 novellas. I think that's still pretty good. How many books were physical? 8 of those books were physical, and then 1 book and the 2 novellas were all ebooks. How many were audiobooks? I had an audiobook going for 1 week and I just didn't finish it. It's one that's going to be going on for a really long time. It's a long one. So I didn't finish any of those. I didn't read any graphic novels or manga this month. Nothing came up. I did have 2 rereads. One was a partial one that I'd started last month, so I finished that out, and then I read another book. And then any DNFs. So I had one DNF, that's a DNF, and I'm selling that book. And then the other one is a book that I started and I just go, this is just not the time for it. I'm just not in the mood for it. So I put it aside and I will revisit it. I put it back on my TBR shelf, and I will hopefully get to it at some point. It was not the time for it, and but it was written good. I was not into it. Question number 7 is how many were on my TBR for that month? So what that means is books that I said in my video for my TBR for August, how many of those did I actually read? I read 8 of them. No, I read 5 of them. Damn it. I forgot. It was 5. Sorry, it's 5. So I didn't read them all. I still had a few that I did not read. And then how many books were from my shelf and how many were from the library? And this month, everything that I read was either from my shelf or on my e-reader. So it's all my stuff this month. It was kind of different. It's not normal. But let's see here. How many am I still currently reading? So books that I have started and not finished, but I'm still working on. So I had started 2 books that I still are on my currently reading that I'm working on. Again, one of those, the audiobook, and the book that I was currently reading when the month changed. And then I have 2 books that are currently reading from months, like from July and before that. So I still have some currently reading stuff. It's not too bad. I mean, to say that there's only 4 on my list is pretty good for me. Because again, I usually read 1 book at a time, but every once in a while I'll have it where I'll put a book down and I'll go on to something else. But I'll still consider it on my list because I think I'm going to get back to it pretty soon. So anyway, it does happen. They pile up every once in a while. So here's a new question. I put this on here just to kind of accountability. So these next 2 questions. And it hurts. I don't know why I did this to myself. So it said, how many books did I buy this month? So in August, I bought 27 books. Wow. I knew it was a high month, and it is my highest purchase month for the year so far. I mean, it was kind of like, I told myself not to buy a lot of books, and I bought massive amount of books. How many books of those did I read? 1. In August, of 27 books that I bought, I only have read 1 of those so far. So 26 of those were added to my TBR. That's a little excessive, Amy. I'm going to work on that. I mean, I'm still going to buy books, but yeah, that number's a little high considering I only read 9 or 10 books a month. So how many pages did I read for the month? I read 2,713 pages, which comes out to an average of 87.5 pages a day. So that's really good. My personal goal is always to be 50 pages on average a day for a month. So there are months where I don't read that much. April was a good example of that. But every other month, I really, really try to read at least 50 pages a day. Now, in that number, I do not count any of my rereads. Those don't count unless it's a book I have not read in over 10 years. If it's a reread from 10 years ago, then yay, I get to count those pages again. But because a reread within that time, I don't figure I'm reading quite so closely, I don't count those pages. So any day I do a lot of rereading, I don't get any pages. But I still do a lot of rereading, so that's just the way how I do things. So for star ratings, I had 1 5-star, 5 4-stars, 4 3-stars, and 1 2-star, which could drop to a 1-star at some point. I don't know. I'm still, I don't know, that 2-star. I don't know. No, I think that was, yeah, no, it'll stay a 2-star. Never mind. So, the genres I read, I had 7 that I would consider literary fiction, contemporary, stuff written within the last 100 years. So, yeah, kind of modern stuff. You know, so there was kind of and the stuff written just last year, you know, but it was kind of across that board. I had 2 science fiction, 1 fantasy, and 1 I would consider an alternate history. And then, so my favorite book of the month was On the Beach by Nevil Shute. Beyond question. It was my 1 5-star read this month. It was just amazing. The book, it was really a quiet novel and yet so powerful, and I really, really enjoyed it. My least favorite book, is the book I DNF'd, and that is Hotel Iris by Yoko Ogawa, translated by Stephen Snyder, and I hate that book. I hate that book. Anyway, so that book is being sold and getting out of my possession. So those are all the questions I have. If you guys can think of any other questions that I should be adding that to let you know how I'm doing, that would be great. I just want to show you my reading log just because it's fun. So that's my reading. This is Booktubeathon. See how many pages I read? A lot. I read a lot. And then I kind of mediocred out, you know, just not too many pages. And then the end of the readathon for Women in Translation was here, which is was a good chunk. So I did pretty good there. I did want to show you this. I saw this on somewhere, and I thought it'd be a really cool way to show reading, and I didn't do a very good job of it. So this year doesn't look really pretty, but I went back and figured out how many pages I read per day, and I did like a box for a different color. Problem is I did 2 greens, so they look too much alike, so you can't, it's not really as cool. But it kind of shows for the month and then every day, like how many pages, and then I have a little key of how many pages that day was. So if there's a blank, that means I didn't read anything. But if it has a little dot, and if you can see, some of them have dots in them, that means that I was rereading a book. So it's kind of interesting because there's this whole block, these are all dots down here, because that's when I was rereading a lot of books in a row. And but anyway, it just kind of looks cool. And if you see purples, that's when I read really high numbers that day. That's my, I think it's 200 plus pages. And then, so my 2 greens are too close together, but it's still kind of cool. Isn't that neat? Be interesting to see how it is by the end of the year. But I just thought I'd show that. I don't know if you guys are interested in all, but that's my little bullet journal reading log thing. So that's it for August. And as I said, if you have any, sorry, if you have any other things I should be trying to track, I'd be interested to know what you think that should be. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.